Eleanor stared at her reflection, counting the fine lines that had appeared around her eyes. 43 years old, successful career, beautiful home, and utterly alone. Too old, they'd say, these men who wanted someone fresher, younger. She never expected that a chance encounter with a struggling single father would change everything, or that his 6-year-old daughter would be the one to see what no one else could. If you're touched by Eleanor's journey, please hit that like button and subscribe to follow more stories that prove love finds us when we least expect it, but exactly when we need it most. Eleanor Matthews closed her dating app with a sigh that seemed to empty her entire body of hope. Another conversation had fizzled out the moment she'd mentioned her age. At 43, she'd grown accustomed to the sudden silence, the polite excuses, the ghosting. Men her age wanted women in their 30s. Men in their 50s wanted the same. Where did that leave her? Too experienced. Too independent. Too set in my ways, she muttered, reciting the excuses she'd heard over the years as she poured herself a glass of wine. Her spacious downtown apartment felt especially empty tonight, the silence broken only by the soft padding of her cat, Fitzgerald, across the hardwood floors. Eleanor had built a life many would envy. As the creative director at one of the city's top advertising agencies, she commanded respect in boardrooms and had a portfolio that had won numerous awards. Her friends, mostly married with children, often told her how lucky she was to have her freedom, her success, her ability to jet off to Paris on a whim or spend Sundays in peaceful solitude. Yet on nights like these, success felt hollow. She scrolled through her social media, seeing former classmates surrounded by families, partners, a sense of belonging that had somehow eluded her despite her best efforts. Maybe I should just get another cat, she told Fitzgerald, who blinked at her with complete indifference. The following morning, Eleanor decided to work from her favorite cafe. Sometimes the background noise of strangers helped quiet the thoughts in her head. She settled into her usual corner table, laptop open, when a crash and a small cry disrupted the peaceful atmosphere. A little girl with unruly dark curls had dropped her hot chocolate, the brown liquid spreading across the floor. Standing beside her was a man who looked like he hadn't slept in days, rumpled shirt, hair sticking up at odd angles, dark circles under his eyes. I'm so sorry, the little girl sobbed, looking mortified. The man knelt down, seemingly oblivious to the hot chocolate soaking into his jeans. Hey, Lilybug, it's just a spill. Accidents happen. There was something in his gentle tone that made Eleanor pause her work. The tenderness in his voice contrasted sharply with his exhausted appearance. Without thinking, Eleanor grabbed some napkins from her table and approached them. Here, she offered, kneeling down beside them. Let me help. The man looked up, startled by her presence. His eyes were a deep brown, bloodshot with fatigue but kind. Thank you, he said, his voice rough with exhaustion. You don't have to. I want to, Eleanor replied, helping to mop up the spill. She smiled at the little girl. I'm Eleanor. What's your name? Lily, the child whispered, still looking distressed. I ruined Daddy's pants. Well, Lily, I think your dad's pants will survive. And hot chocolate is much too delicious to cry over, don't you think? A small smile broke through Lily's tears. I guess so. The cafe employee arrived with a mop, and Eleanor stood, suddenly aware of how close she was standing to this stranger. He rose too, extending his hand. I'm Daniel. Daniel Foster. Thank you for your help. His handshake was firm, his palm calloused. Eleanor noticed he wasn't wearing a wedding ring, though a faint tan line suggested there had been one not too long ago. Eleanor Matthews. And it was no trouble at all. Daniel ordered another hot chocolate for Lily, and to Eleanor's surprise, they asked if they could join her at her table. The cafe had filled up during the commotion. Only if you don't mind, Daniel added quickly. We don't want to disturb your work. Eleanor found herself closing her laptop. Not at all. I could use a break. Lily, once recovered from her embarrassment, proved to be a chatterbox. She told Eleanor about her school, her favorite books, and how her dad made the best pancakes in the world but was really terrible at braiding hair. Daniel winced. I'm learning. YouTube tutorials can only help so much. Where's your mom today, Lily? Eleanor asked, immediately regretting the question when she saw Daniel's face tighten. Lily's brightness dimmed slightly. Mommy lives in California now. With her new husband. I see her on holidays sometimes. Daniel cleared his throat. We've been on our own for about a year now. Still figuring things out, aren't we, Lilybug? Eleanor nodded, understanding flooding through her. The exhaustion, the rumpled clothes, the awkward hair braiding, Daniel was navigating single fatherhood, and from the looks of it, it had been a rough journey. Well, Eleanor said, trying to lighten the mood, I'm excellent at braiding hair. I used to do it for my nieces all the time. Lily's eyes widened. Really? Could you teach my dad? And just like that, Eleanor found herself demonstrating proper braiding technique on Lily's curls while Daniel watched with intense concentration, as if he were being taught how to disarm a bomb rather than style a child's hair. When they finally parted ways, Daniel hesitated. This might sound strange, but would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? Without the hot chocolate disaster? He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. Sorry, that was probably inappropriate. You're probably busy, and I'm a mess, Anne. I'd like that, Eleanor interrupted, surprising herself with how much she meant it. Daniel's relief was palpable. Great. That's great. They exchanged numbers, and as Eleanor watched them leave, Daniel holding Lily's hand, the little girl skipping beside him, she felt something she hadn't experienced in a long time, possibility. Their coffee date turned into dinner the following week. Daniel had arranged for a babysitter, my neighbor Mrs. Patel. Lily adores her, and she feeds her vegetables that Lily mysteriously refuses to eat when I serve them. Eleanor found herself charmed by Daniel's honesty. He didn't try to hide the challenges of his life or pretend to be something he wasn't. I'm sorry if I look tired, he said as they settled into their table at a modest Italian restaurant. Lily had a nightmare last night, and then I had an early client meeting. What do you do? Eleanor asked, realizing she didn't know. I'm an architect. Or I was. Now I mostly do freelance design work from home so I can be there for Lily. He shrugged. Not as glamorous as my previous firm work, but it pays the bills and gives me flexibility. Eleanor told him about her own career, her travels, her life. To her surprise, Daniel listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions. He didn't seem intimidated by her success or put off by her independence, qualities that had sent other men running. As the evening progressed, Eleanor found herself relaxing, laughing more than she had in months. Daniel had a dry wit beneath his exhaustion, and his stories about adjusting to single parenthood were both heartbreaking and hilarious. Last month, Lily announced to her entire class that Daddy uses bad words when he burns dinner, which is almost always. He shook his head. Her teacher gave me quite the look at pickup that day. When the check came, Daniel insisted on paying. Please. You've already helped me master the art of French braiding. Let me get dinner. As they walked to their cars, an awkward moment hung between them, that universal first date uncertainty. Daniel solved it by simply asking, "Can I see you again?" Eleanor nodded, feeling strangely shy. "I'd like that." He leaned in and kissed her cheek, his stubble brushing against her skin. "Thank you for tonight. It's been a long time since I've felt like a person and not just Lily's dad." Driving home, Eleanor tried to temper her expectations. Daniel was kind, attractive, and genuine, but he also came with complications. A child. An ex-wife. A life very different from her own carefully constructed independence. And then there was the age question. They hadn't discussed it, but Eleanor guessed Daniel was in his late 30s. The familiar anxiety crept in. Would her age matter to him once he knew? Would he, like so many others, decide she was too old, too set in her ways? Their relationship developed slowly over the following weeks. Daniel was limited by his responsibilities to Lily, and Eleanor found herself adjusting to a different rhythm of dating, afternoon park visits, early dinners, and the occasional evening out when Daniel could secure a babysitter. To her surprise, Eleanor didn't mind. There was something refreshing about Daniel's priorities, his devotion to his daughter, his lack of pretense. A month into their relationship, Daniel invited her to dinner at his home. "Lily's been asking about you," he admitted over the phone. "Would you be comfortable meeting her properly? Not just as the nice lady from the cafe?" Eleanor felt a flutter of nervousness. Meeting Lily formally felt significant, a step beyond casual dating into something more serious. "I'd love to," she said, pushing aside her anxiety. Daniel's house was a modest two-bedroom in a family-friendly neighborhood. The interior reflected the chaos of single-parent life. Toys mingled with architectural drawings, a basket of unfolded laundry sat on the couch, and the kitchen showed signs of a hasty cleanup. "Sorry about the mess," Daniel said, looking embarrassed as he welcomed her in. "I tried to clean, but..." "It looks like a home," Eleanor assured him, handing him the bottle of wine she'd brought. "A happy one." Lily bounded down the stairs, wearing a dress that didn't quite match her leggings, her hair in a somewhat successful braid that Eleanor suspected Daniel had attempted himself. "Eleanor," she cried, as if greeting an old friend. "Daddy said you were coming for spaghetti. That's my favorite. Do you like spaghetti? Daddy makes it with meatballs but not spicy because I don't like spicy things." Eleanor couldn't help but smile at the child's enthusiasm. "I love spaghetti. And I'm not a big fan of spicy things either." Dinner was a lively affair, with Lily dominating the conversation and Daniel occasionally steering her back to eating rather than talking. Eleanor found herself relaxing into the family dynamic, enjoying the simple meal and the warmth of their company. After dinner, Lily insisted on showing Eleanor her room, proudly displaying her collection of stuffed animals and books. "This is Pancake," she said, holding up a well-loved stuffed rabbit. "He's my best friend. Daddy gave him to me when I was a baby." "He's wonderful," Eleanor said, sitting on the edge of Lily's bed. "You take very good care of him." Lily studied Eleanor with the direct gaze only children can manage. "Do you have any kids?" The question caught Eleanor off guard. "No, I don't." "Why not? Don't you like kids?" Daniel appeared in the doorway. "Lily, that's a personal question. Remember what we talked about?" Lily sighed dramatically. "About not asking grown-ups why they don't have things." "That's right." Eleanor smiled. "It's okay. I do like kids, Lily. It just didn't happen for me." Lily considered this. "Well, you can share me with Daddy if you want. I'm a pretty good kid most of the time." Daniel's face flushed with embarrassment, but Eleanor felt a warmth spread through her chest at the child's innocent offer. After Lily was tucked in bed, Daniel and Eleanor sat on his back porch with glasses of wine. The night was cool, stars visible despite the city lights. "I'm sorry about Lily's question," Daniel said. "She doesn't always have a filter." "It's fine." "It was sweet, actually." Eleanor took a sip of her wine. "She's wonderful, Daniel. You're doing an amazing job with her." He looked down at his glass. "I'm trying. Some days are better than others." He paused. "Can I ask you something? And feel free not to answer if it's too personal." Eleanor nodded, though she felt a flicker of apprehension. "The kids thing, was that a choice, or?" Eleanor took a deep breath. Here it was, the conversation that often changed everything. "Both, I suppose. In my 20s and early 30s, I was focused on my career. By the time I thought about children, I hadn't found the right partner. Then fertility issues complicated things. She shrugged, trying to seem more casual than she felt. Life doesn't always follow the plan. Daniel nodded slowly. I understand that. Believe me. He reached for her hand. Thank you for telling me. While we're asking personal questions, Eleanor said, deciding to face her fear head-on, how old do you think I am? Daniel looked surprised. I don't know. Late 30s? Eleanor laughed, though it came out more strained than she intended. I'm 43, Daniel. He blinked. Okay. Just okay? Should I have another reaction? Eleanor set down her wine glass. Most men do. They either disappear or suddenly remember they want someone young enough to have their children. Daniel's expression softened. Eleanor, I'm 39. 4 years isn't exactly a scandalous age gap. He squeezed her hand. And as for children, I have Lily. That's enough for me. The simple acceptance in his voice made Eleanor's throat tighten. She'd been bracing for rejection for so long that his casual acceptance felt almost unreal. Besides, he added with a small smile, I'm pretty sure I look at least 10 years older than I am these days. Single parenthood isn't exactly a fountain of youth. Eleanor laughed, genuine this time, the tension breaking. You look perfect to me. He leaned in and kissed her then, a real kiss, not the careful goodnight pecks they'd shared before. When they broke apart, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling for you, Eleanor Matthews. Age and all. Their relationship deepened over the following months. Eleanor found herself spending more weekends at Daniel's house, becoming a regular part of their lives. She helped Lily with her reading, taught Daniel how to cook more than spaghetti, and gradually brought order to the chaos of their home. It wasn't always smooth. Lily had occasional meltdowns, missing her mother or testing boundaries. Daniel sometimes retreated into silence when stress overwhelmed him. Eleanor had moments of doubt, wondering if she was truly ready for the complexities of loving a man with a child. But there were beautiful moments too, Lily falling asleep against Eleanor during movie nights, Daniel's face when Eleanor surprised him with tickets to an architectural exhibition he'd mentioned wanting to see, quiet evenings on the porch after Lily was asleep. 6 months into their relationship, Daniel's ex-wife called. She wanted to take Lily for the summer, 3 full months in California. I don't know what to do, Daniel confessed to Eleanor that night, his voice tight with anxiety. Legally, I can't stop her. The custody agreement gives her summer visitation. But 3 months. Lily's never been away from me that long. Eleanor held him as he voiced his fears, that Lily would forget him, that she'd prefer her mother's new life with its swimming pools and theme parks, that the progress they'd made as a family unit would unravel. She won't forget you, Eleanor assured him. You're her father. Her constant. 3 months is a long time, but your bond is stronger. The day they put Lily on the plane was one of the hardest Eleanor had witnessed. Daniel maintained his composure until they returned to his empty house, then broke down in Eleanor's arms, the silence of Lily's absence deafening. In the weeks that followed, Eleanor saw a new side of Daniel, the depth of his love for his daughter, the way he counted the days until their video calls, how he mailed her small packages of reminders from home. I never understood, he told Eleanor one night, how completely a child becomes part of you. How physical the connection is. I feel like I'm missing a limb. Eleanor held him, offering what comfort she could, while privately confronting her own feelings. She loved Daniel, she was certain of that now. But loving him meant loving Lily too, accepting that she would never be his first priority, understanding that their relationship would always include a third heart. Was she ready for that? Could she embrace a family that hadn't begun with her? The summer dragged on. Daniel threw himself into work, taking on more projects than he could reasonably handle. Eleanor found herself spending more time at his house than her own apartment, keeping him company in the quiet evenings, making